your pan-fried chicken and gravy isn't hitting like this, then I'll teach you the version that does. And in the end, I'll show you how I put it all together.
Hope you enjoyed this lesson.
Have you ever seen this trick with the asparagus? Pounds of asparagus always come double rubber banded. So you slide both rubber bands down, one to the middle, and then one to the ends. And then cut the ends off, and then rubber band the remaining portion. For our breading, we're simply seasoning all-purpose flour with kosher salt, black pepper, paprika, and garlic powder. I'm only using a pie plate so that way you can see exactly what I'm doing when I'm breading the chicken. We pound the chicken to tenderize it and so that it cooks nice and even. Always double the plastic wrap up, don't do single layer, you'll rip it almost every time. A Ziploc baggie works great here too. We're going to bread our chicken using the dredge we made earlier. First, lightly flour the outside. Then we're going to sprinkle the chicken breast with small amounts of water to hydrate the flour and form a light paste. Do not use too much water or you'll just rinse the flour off. When breading the chicken, you want to squeeze the flour onto the breading. By squeezing, you form that ultimate crust and makes all those crags. I know you've seen other chefs try to tell you to put the water into the flour to make your crags, but that's not how that works. All that does is ruin your flour. Sprinkle the water directly onto the chicken and into the breading, and then repeat until you get the breading as shaggy as you want and as thick as you want. You can continue doing this and get it pretty thick if you want to. I know what you're thinking. Why not buttermilk? Well, buttermilk is heavy and it contains a lot of fat, and it makes a very heavy breading that's prone to getting very dark and burning before the chicken gets cooked. Water keeps the breading light and crispy and keeps you from getting that really heavy feeling when you're done eating. I decided I should pan fry the chicken in chicken fat today. However, you can use any oil that you have, just not olive oil. Never fry in olive oil. The smoke point is way too low and you ruin any nutritional benefits it had anyways. And it gives an off flavor to the food. Use any clean oil, canola, corn, vegetable, all those will work just fine. Notice that when I put the chicken in, the pan was much hotter than it is during the full cooking process. I want it to be hot in the beginning so that the crust will set, but then I want to cook the chicken low and slow so we can allow the proteins to relax and the chicken to get super tender and let the breading get crispy. Do not rush this process. I fried the chicken for a good 5 to 8 minutes before I turned it over. The second side will take less time. Here's the point where the chicken's perfectly cooked. Nice and crispy on both sides, evenly golden. I do hold the chicken in a low temp 225 degree oven while I finish cooking everything else. Drain the excess chicken fat from the pan and let's make a gravy. With your pan on a medium and a high heat, we're going to add some all-purpose flour. I'm going to teach you how to get your roux just perfect. So first, I'm going to add a little bit too much flour and show you what dry looks like. We're going to add a little bit of chicken fat and then mix it up and then see where we go from there. As you can see, our roux is still a little bit chunky, so we're going to add just a little bit more fat. We want it to be smooth. We're looking for a thin pancake consistency or maybe crepe batter consistency. All of the fat being hydrated. Now you see here, some of the fat is separating. See that? So we're going to have to add a little bit more flour back to it. It's okay if you have to go back and forth to get this right. What's important is the consistency of the roux. If it's too thick, you could end up with lumps. If it's too thin, it could end up breaking your gravy. So you want to get this right. So that's why I'm taking the time to show you. Once you get the consistency right, and all of the fat is hydrated, and there's no lumpiness, then you want to get it nice and brown. And you want to make sure the roux gets to the smoke point. And you can see that it's starting to smoke. I like to add my black pepper once it starts to get nice and dark. When you've reached the smoke point, we're going to add milk. We want to add it all at one time and not slowly like I've heard suggested. Putting too much milk in, the only bad thing is you have to cook it down longer. If you don't put enough milk in, your gravy could quickly overthicken, you can easily make lumps, or worse, scorch it. It's extremely important to keep the gravy moving, constantly whisking everywhere in the pan to ensure that the gravy cooks even. It's important to taste your gravy before you add any salt. And remember, the flavor is going to continue to concentrate and get saltier as it reduces. I've been accused of aerating my gravy by whisking it so much and making it fluffy. I don't know where they get such a crazy idea from. I season my gravy just simply with salt and cracked black pepper. If you're fat and you're fond, it's flavorful. That's all you really need.
Simple is almost always better.
It's extremely important to keep the gravy moving. You want it to heat and cook evenly and slowly. That way you cook all the flour out of it and all the thickening power. How many times have you made a gravy and it's the perfect consistency, and it's nice and smooth, and then you put it in a bowl, you stick it on the table, 5 minutes later you go to use it, and it's set up on you. Well, that's because you didn't cook all the thickening power out of the roux. I'm going to use the leftover chicken fat to saute the asparagus in. Season it just simply with salt and cracked black pepper. Gravy should not be overly thick. It should just be a nice, thick, soft consistency, and not the consistency of oatmeal. Let's do a spoon test. That's perfect. See how it sticks to the spoon but doesn't clump up on there? Nice and smooth. Exactly like I like it. Once I boiled my potatoes, I keep them hot on the back of the stove covered, and then I smash them when I'm ready. I just season them simply with salt and pepper and butter. Potato masher doesn't work the best for mixing mashed potatoes, but it does keep you from having to dirty another utensil. Let's plate. First, the mashed potatoes. I like to keep them a little on the stiff side and a little chunky. It takes gravy a lot better than super soft potatoes. This slightly bitter asparagus is a perfect contrast to this dish. Beautifully golden fried chicken. Just look at that crunchy breading. Either like this, or if you love the gravy like I do, go ahead and spoon the gravy over it. I hope you try this lesson. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Thank you so much for watching. Did you hear the crunch? Did you see how tender? That's perfect pan-fried chicken. Now that's tender.
So good. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please follow for more.